Good afternoon, and welcome back to another episode of the Grimaldo Group, where we love helping families create wealth through homeownership. My name is Angel, and this is Juan, the Juan and only. How are you, Juan?
Terrific, sir. How are you?
I'm having a blast. It's been an interesting weekend. I've been hanging out with my grandkids and my children, and it's been a great time. And also here in Phoenix, beautiful Phoenix, by the way. We've had a lot of activity recently, have we not?
It's a very popular destination now. We used to be kind of like, that's so hot, it's ugly, but there's a lot going on. We had the Phoenix Open, we had the Super Bowl, and it was Valentine's Day yesterday, man.
Lots of activity taking place on the world map, if you will, right here, Phoenix, Arizona. If you've never been out to Phoenix, I highly suggest you consider planning a trip. And if you need assistance with that trip, focusing on real estate, please let us know. The Grimaldo Group would love to help you with that trip. And what's going on out there other than all these activities that have taken place? How was your Valentine's?
It was good. We worked for a little bit, took my wife and my sisters visiting here from Mexico. So we went to Cracker Barrel. Not a
Nice.
commercial, but we like those pancakes. They're amazing, man.
So you had a good feast?
Oh yeah, I had a great breakfast with them, and the company was awesome. Having my wife and my sister there with me was awesome.
I had a good time with the wife, the one beautiful woman that really moves my heart. And I
Awesome.
did bring her roses. So I accumulated some points there. That's a good thing.
Definitely.
Anyways, with regard to real estate, this is what we do. This is what we talk about.
Yep.
What is taking place out there? What are you seeing, Juan?
Well, I was Angel's been out for a little bit. Like usually, he's on vacation. We should call him the vacation guy. We in the last few weeks we've seen a lot of activity. We've done a ton of contracts in the last week. Even last week, we got I think 5 in just in the weekend. So what that goes to tell you is that the activity's picking up. And you were telling me that we have a client that is looking into a new build, right? And what's
Correct.
happening there? What do you see?
Well, one thing for sure is some builders are starting to uh, make sure that whatever buyer is coming to the table, if they have a contingency, meaning, for example, in this situation, our buyer is also a seller. We're listing their home. And so the builder rep did indicate your buyer needs to be under contract with the sale of their home before we consider putting them under contract. So if you go back just a few months, let's say September through December, that wasn't the case. They were eager, the builders, to sit down and let's write a contract. I understand you're going to sell your house, but we're fine with that. Even if it's not under contract,
Yep.
the sale of your existing home, we're fine with doing a contract with you.
Why was that, Angel? Though, like, what was happening back then?
Well, again, this is just a few months ago. They were just throwing everything that they have, incentives left and right. But what I've noticed now, they're gauging it. And as activity starts picking up with regard to buyers coming out more and more, those incentives are starting to get depleted or taken out.
Yep.
One particular builder was offering 3%, okay, of the purchase price towards incentives. Now they've reduced it to 2%.
What does incentives mean for those people that don't know what an incentive is?
Well, if you're going to purchase a property, okay, one of the incentives could be I'm going to cover your closing costs. So in this case, this particular builder, 3% of the purchase price will go towards closing costs. Anything remaining could potentially go towards maybe a price reduction or whatever is left over.
Yep.
And then there were other builders offering on spec homes, and that's specifically designed or optioned homes by the builder. And with spec homes, some builders were offering 6% of the purchase price as incentives.
So in essence, guys, so a spec home is a speculative home or a home that fell through because the rates went so high up that the buyer was not able to qualify, right, Angel?
At times it can be, but some builders from the get-go, they'll select a particular amount of their inventory that they're going to start building, and they'll get the permits, and they'll specifically design them and option them according to what the surveys that they do indicate, okay, what's hot. And so they'll have spec homes already being built. So you can come in, and hopefully you come in with a realtor, and hopefully it's one of us.
Yep.
And that's something that I like to touch on. But when you go into a builder, if your needs of finding a home is sooner than later, they can pull out their inventory and say, I have some spec homes that these two over here in these lots are only 3 months from completion. And I have one that's already completed. It's a spec home with a 30-day closing, and so on. If you get a home from the ground up, when they say, would you like to purchase dirt? And it's like, hold up, I don't know what you're talking about. And then that's where a realtor such as Juan and I say, well, what they're meaning, that term, when they say, are you buying dirt or are you buying spec? Well, dirt means you're buying something that's just not even started, not even the permits.
Yep.
There's pros and cons to this. If you're buying dirt or a property that you're going to design from the ground up,
right?
Well, there's probably not going to be the amount of incentives that they are offering with the spec homes. But the pros are you can design the house as you like.
Yeah, you can build it however you see fit.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing about those spec homes is that they come with a ton of incentives, as Angel was saying. With a new build, you have to pretty much, be at the mercy of the market when it comes to rates. And having an agent, as Angel was pointing out, is super important, because they say, well, why would I need an agent if they have an agent there? Well, those agents work for this builder.
Correct.
They don't have your best interest in mind. So by taking one of our agents, they're going to work and fight for you and get as much incentives as possible that you wouldn't otherwise. Not only that, laid out a plan, because last week we talked about, or on our previous episode, we talked about how a buyer that we have, a client of ours, unfortunately went in by himself to buy this property. Now he's in a pickle because they were taking those contracts without having that contingency even in, right?
Yes.
So now he has to sell his home, and he may have to sell it even at a loss or a discount, because he's now in a pickle. And if you don't have an agent that is going to help you set this up for success, when you get to that point where you're about to close, you're going to have issues. So it's always important to have a professional by your side to plan out and strategize your move so that it's an effective one and it's a less stress, because they said that the next to death moving is one of the biggest stress. But we take that stress on because we do this all the time, and we can help you kind of navigate those waters where you don't know what you're doing as you go in. So,
less stress is always best.
100%.
And so again, with the new home builds, if you're going out and about, and many times people don't know this. I was talking to one of our clients. We're listing her home. And I, of course, took the time to tell her, if you decide to purchase a brand new home, please allow me the opportunity to assist you with that. And she said, what do you mean? I've already gone to some new home builds. And thankfully, she didn't like the location. But she wasn't aware that she could use her existing realtor, who's going to help sell her house with the purchase of a new home. And if you allow us the opportunity, we already know what's out there. We've built a rapport. We have built a network of new home builder reps throughout the West Valley and beyond. All we do is pick up the phone, start making calls, and seeing what's actively out there. Because a lot of times, if you go to their websites, their respective websites, it'll tell you homes starting at and this and that. You don't know exactly what their inventory is for that particular neighborhood, whereas phone calls do. At that network that we've built, it's very effective.
It makes it easier. And the other thing, Angel, it's super important what you're touching on, because sometimes the reps there are working, and not saying that they're bad or not. It's just that they work and they see so many people, they don't even think about the inventory they have. So people walk in and they don't even mention that, oh, I have a spec. They say, oh, did you like any homes? Okay, great. Have a good day. But we know what our client wants. And when we go there, we already know what the inventory is, and we show them exactly what they're looking for. And that's the importance of having a professional. And I like when you always say, that proactive agent, right? You're not just having an agent to open the door for you and just take you, as an Uber driver and show you around. We know what you want. We're going to look for what you want, and we're going to find that specific property. And Angel, you're amazing at that. I've seen you. And honestly, if you get the privilege an honor to work with this guy. You'll be wild. And I mean it, because a lot of agents, and again, it's a beautiful industry. We love it. Don't take the time to really understand what's important to our client or their client, and not really do that part, right? Where you find that particular property, you know the inventory, you know the reps, you have a huge advantage versus just them going on their own, not knowing what to do, not knowing what the expectation is, and having that negotiation power. And this guy's an amazing negotiator.
Well, we have good mentorship and coaching, and that comes very well in hand when I'm out there in the field. And so we like building relationships is our primary focus.
100%.
And so when we do that, we try to maintain those relationships through making phone calls, keeping irrelevant with what's going on. And that's our aim. Now, going back, the change is taking place.
Yep.
There is a shift taking place. So the market, my understanding of it, and I like listening to well-seasoned individuals in the market, one of which is Juan, and then there are several others. What's taking place is, folks, the inventory, what's happening?
So basically, the inventory is shrinking, and what's happening is we saw the bottom about a month and a week or a month and 2 weeks ago. We're going to watch the market update today by Tina Tamber. She's the authority when it comes to statistics for the real estate world, and I'm fascinated by what I do because I want to be informed. And what we do is we give you that information so you have a leg up. Most people are still afraid, and those people that weren't afraid to buy a week or two or a month ago, they're going to do amazing because the market is taking off again. We've seen the bottom. We've come up already from the low, and the inventory is shrinking and more buyers are coming in. And just think about it this way, Angel. Let's say you bought your house a year ago, 2 years ago. Your interest rate is a good rate, right?
Yes.
Would you go sell your home and buy a higher rate right now?
Not if I really have to. No, I won't.
But you probably buy an investment property at a discount for $100,000 less, because that's an average. That's what we dropped in pretty much in general.
Yeah,
right.
I would.
So it's a good opportunity because we've been talking about this, and we kind of made it a little saying that marry the purchase price and date the rate, because right now the price is going to be way lower. However, that window of opportunity is closing, guys. And if I were you, and if you're on the fences of buying a home, this is it. This is the time. Get in.
This is emotional experience, and people tend to, if Johnny down the street is doing this activity, maybe I need to do it.
Yep.
Okay. So what I've seen is, and I recently had a person very close to me tell me, Angel, I want to buy another house. I need to buy another house, a bigger home, but let me know when the prices get right. Okay. So my thing is, my heart's a little bit broken, but we're going to work with this very close individual. September, October, November, December, I was reaching out to people, okay, and letting them know this is a grand opportunity. There's a lot of things taking place. Oh, yeah, but the interest rates. Well, the interest rates will be the interest rates.
Yep.
The opportunities where you can buy for less money and then potentially down the road refinance is here. But now people are getting accustomed to the current interest rates because they have remained more or less at the same level.
And I think we have a short-term memory, and we've talked about this quite often, but I feel like it's important to touch on. Rates are at the lowest, even right now that they're higher.
Correct.
It's just that we've been on such low rate environment for so long. That's all we know. That if you go back to the peak of the market in 2005, 2006, what was a good rate, Angel? Do you remember?
2006?
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about maybe
7%.
I was going to be hovering 6.5-ish.
Yep. So that was a great rate back then. So if you had 6.5%, I mean, you were a freaking rock star, right? I had a loan, I was a first-time buyer. I bought a home for 8% and 10%, which it was an 80-20 loan. So I was paying $2,200 for $140,000 mortgage.
And you did it.
And I had no choice.
Yep.
Right? It was what it was. So this is, go back, 16, 17 years ago?
Yep.
Now, things have changed a lot, guys. There's inflation. You guys have heard that word a lot in the last few months. Inflation means that cost of goods goes higher. But the beauty about real estate is that it's a good. So what happens with it, it goes up with everything else.
Now, have we experienced inflation only on this occasion, or has inflation occurred in the past? Because
Always.
last time I checked, my neighbor across the street back in San Diego, he's been living in this house since 1970.
Mhm.
And he bought the house. He told me it was like for less than $100,000.
80, 90. Yeah.
Right. So he bought this house back in the day. Maybe it could have been 68 or 70 ish. And he bought it for that amount of money, which today that house is like $700,000. Okay.
Yeah.
So somehow inflation happened before to get to where we're at. But the real
100%.
estate industry, the needs of home ownership, of buying and selling, continued.
I'm going to
throughout
give
the
you an
years.
example. Yeah. So I can wear these jeans I have jeans that I'm going to lie. I'm sorry, guys, but I had them for 10 years, right? I mean, a home is going to be for pretty much your whole life. And these jeans are going to, I don't have to change them. When you buy a home, that home is going to be there for a while. And that home value is going to go up no matter what, because the cost of goods, again, is going to go up. When you buy a property, you buy it to live in. It's your home.
Talking about homes, here in the west side of the country, Southwest, or specifically Phoenix, sometimes people say, man, that house is 30 years old. That's an old house. Well, go up to Boston, go up to the Northeast.
100 years old.
You're going to have homes that were built in the 1800s.
Yep.
And they keep selling and buying.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine what the cost was back in maybe 1880 or 1890 for that house brand new? And yet someone just probably sold it and another person went and bought it because there is a need for real estate. And so the opportunities here, the opportunities will remain. But if you're on the fence continuously and you continue to pay someone else's mortgages, it's something that I always talk about. People, there he goes again. Well, you'd be surprised. There's still people out there that don't see the vision of home ownership. Where can I be down 5-10 years from now? And they only see what's in front of them. I got to pay the rent.
Yep.
I got to pay the rent.
Let me give you another example. I had a conversation with one of my friends this weekend, and there's an opportunity that I have. It's a good listing, right? And we just put it on the market. We have a ton of activity, but it's a good investment rental. It's a good buy and hold, right? And we was having a conversation about it, and I says, here's this opportunity. And I purchased a few homes in the last 4 years, right? Not even that long ago. And his answer was like, oh man, I wish I would have bought 2 years ago when you did, 3 years ago when you did, 4 years ago. And I said, you know what's going to happen 2 years from now, and 3 years from now, and 4 years from now? You're going to say, man, I wish I would have bought that house 3-4 years ago. So there's always going to be that consequence. And just like the tree analogy that I always mention, right? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You have a beautiful tree with a beautiful shade, and the next best day is today, because that tree is never going to grow unless you plant it. So if you've been waiting to plant that tree, if you've been waiting to buy that house, give us a call. If you're thinking about selling, you're moving from the city, we love the opportunity to work with you. We work with a ton of buyers, so we can help you get that home sold and help you purchase and get you into a better situation, especially if you're renting. I don't think if you're renting, make a comment here. Is your situation better now than last year or the previous year, or is it getting worse by the day, right?
I mean, I'm not against renting. I've said it once. I've said it multiple times. I love renters. I have tenants. Okay.
They pay your mortgages.
But it should be a short-term planning for a period in which you can prepare yourself to purchase
100%
a home. Because it kills me. I mean, when I see people paying $2,400, $2,500 a month.
That's a mortgage payment.
And I know what they make in income, and they're young and up and coming, good jobs, and you're paying rent this amount for where you're living when you can have your own home.
Yes.
And look at the 10 to 15 years ahead.
Angel, but the rate is 6-7%, 5%. I mean, what is the rate on renting?
Oh, that's correct. That's going to be 100%. I mean, that could be argued. I mean, some people say, you say that, Angel, 100%. Well, isn't it that every time you pay the rent?
Exactly. What amount of that money are you saving in taxes? Are you investing in your home?
Correct.
Are you paying that debt down or building some equity? So if you really want to think about it, if you say, oh my gosh, I'm going to keep renting because the rates are high.
Yeah.
Well, you're just know that your rent payment is 100% interest because you're throwing it away every single month.
Yeah. I mean, you're giving yourself and your family a roof over your head, but you can still do that by purchasing. Or when I have someone says, Angel, and this recently someone told me, I am concerned that what if I'm left without a job with the
Mm.
economy the way it's going and this and that, and I can't make the mortgage payment. I says, well, let's think about this.
Yeah.
What if you have the same scenario?
Mm.
Who's going to pay your rent?
100%.
And the person said, well, I'll go back to my mom and dad's house. Well, can't you do the same if you have a mortgage and then you just become a landlord
Yep.
and have someone pay your mortgage, right? Isn't that a better scenario? And when you get back on your feet, you can come back to your existing home. It happens where a tenant said, someone tells them, the landlord says, hey, at the end of your lease, you got to leave. I'm either selling or I need the house back.
And that's a bad situation to be in. You know, we've had that happen with a family member where he was about to retire, and I've told this story before, and now he thought he was going to retire, but now he's going to have to work the rest of his life because the rent payment that he was paying for the last 10 years, which was $700 in San Diego, is now $2,000, and he gets about $1,800 a month for Social Security. So you can't live on that. You have to think about that, and these are the things that you have to consider when you're renting. Now, Angel was mentioning that if you need to rent, when we first got here, my wife and I got married, we were broke, really, really broke. So I said, you know what, we're going to live in this apartment for 3 years, and we're going to save enough to buy our own house. And that's what we did. So sometimes you have to wait, you have to do these things. And we had clients. I have a couple friends of mine. One took like 3 years, another one 4 years to get their home. We're creatures of habit, right? We keep getting in debt. But if you have it in your heart, if you really want to do this, we can help you. It was my situation when I bought my first home. You know, I needed to learn how to do it. So somebody took the time to do it, and I'm grateful for that. So my goal and my mission is to help those that are really willing to do what it takes to get into a home, work and do whatever it takes to get them there.
This is why we do this. We take the time, we sit here, and there are people that listen, and maybe others that listen half the time, but we do this because I see a need out there.
Yep.
Knowledge is power, and knowledge will take you to places that you probably wouldn't be even thinking about.
Yes.
When you listen to someone, I like grabbing youngsters and stuff. Let's talk about where you see yourself 5-10 years from now. It could be a 20-year-old, 18-year-old, a 15-year-old. It could be a 30-year-old. I was recently talking to a 30-year-old. He's got a job. His wife has a nice high-paying job, and they've been paying rent for 3 years.
Wow.
And he still tells me, I'm wait for the crash. And I wanted him to explain to me, how is it that you're coming to this conclusion that you have to wait for a crash, and who's telling you this? He couldn't give me a straight answer, but it's floating out there.
We become parrots and we repeat what other people say, but you have to dig in a little deeper and learn. And we were talking about this with my wife and my sister yesterday, because we went to this, it's not counseling, but they do like couples advice, like how to improve your relationship. And my wife says, you know what, but these people, it's their choice to do these things. And I said, you know what, you're right. However, sometimes we don't have that information in front of us that helps us get to that point, right? Because I see a lot of smart people doing things that they could be doing better. They were way smarter than me. However, first of all, they don't look for that information. Second of all, they haven't thought about it, because we're creatures of habit, and we're robots.
Yep.
We just walk and go do the things that we do, but never stop and think, okay, why am I doing this? What's out there different? What is that guy doing that I like? Like, what can I learn from this guy? And when you mention mentors, I have a ton of mentors. I read a ton of books. And the reason I read those books is because it opens up my mind to all other possibilities. And I'm crazy. Like, I have a crazy wild dreams, but it's so cool to see that, but I'm looking out for them. So when you guys watch these videos, I hope you do. It's not for us to show you what we're doing and how great we are. It's for us to open up your mind to the possibilities of how crazy, wild things can happen to you in a good way. But you have to be open-minded, and you have to stop listening to the news. You have to stop listening to the naysayers. You have to look for people that are positive, energetic, and are looking for that next great thing that's going to happen, instead of looking at the negative crash that people are focusing on, and it's not going to happen. And then they're going to be like, crap, I should have, could have, would have back then. And we're like, we've been telling you so, right, Raul?
We could have, stayed there. I'm a prime example. When I was back in 98, I purchased my first property, but it was someone at work. I was in law enforcement, as many of you probably know, and I was a rookie. And a fellow employee who became my friend, he took the time, not just on one conversation, multiple occasions, hounded me in a good way. When are you going to buy, dude? He wasn't even a realtor.
He wasn't getting any benefit from it.
He got no benefit.
No agenda.
Boom. Angel, you got to buy a property, dude. Uncle Sam's going to eat you alive as you start making more money and this and that. Why aren't you buying? And why aren't you looking at properties? Find yourself a good realtor, etc. He kept at it until finally it hit
All right,
me.
let's do it.
Why am I not doing this? Why am I paying rent? And I was paying rent probably a year and a half before I purchased my first property. And it was because that individual that took the time to talk to me about real estate and hounded me that I was able to make wiser decisions. Okay.
Yep, 100%.
And this is why we do this. This is why I'm passionate about what we do.
It's creating awareness. And also, like, for example, in our culture, I come from very humble beginnings, and the people that I grew up with, some of them didn't have access. They didn't have any mentors. Our mentors were not the greatest people, like, so in order for you to say, oh, you know what, I like the hood, I like where I live, but look at that freaking guy, he's got a nice car. And instead of bashing him because, oh, he does this, he's a drug dealer, he's this, he's that, what is he doing right that I can learn from? And just go. Sometimes are people instead of being inspired by it, they get like jealous of it. Like, and instead of doing that, if you see what they're doing, ask them a question. Most people that are successful, they want to share with you what they do to be successful. You see on these videos, podcasts, how Elon Musk talks about their success, Jeff Bezos, everybody talks, but you just have to be open-minded. And again, stop tuning into the news, the naysayers, and people that, let's say you're buying a house, don't ask another person that is renting. Find those people that own homes, or maybe are landlords, and ask them, dude, what do you think about owning a home is like? Is it good? Is it a good investment?
This reminds me of back in the day, a young man I had with my son, and I had told him what he was considering joining the military. Now, I had served in the Navy, and we talk about different branches, and we had focused on what is the best course of action for him. Okay. Out of the blue, he's going to go take the test, the entry exam, and so on. And he's considering some other branch. And I don't want to bash any branches. But I says, where did you get this information? Who told you about that one? We never talked about it. And he says, John down the street told him. Well, who's John? Has he ever served in the military? He says, no, he's never served in the military. Well, how did that happen?
Yeah,
okay?
definitely.
Sometimes we just go astray and we listen to what someone who's not experienced in whatever the subject is, in this case, real estate. Well, Johnny, my uncle, tells me I should never buy because it's a waste of time.
Yep.
Well, where's Johnny, your uncle, now? He's in dire need of his finances are all screwed up and so on. Well, I would suggest not to listen to your Uncle Johnny unless you want to live his life.
Exactly. And and that's the best indicator and thermometer for you to have. When somebody gives you advice, look at their situation. Is it better than yours? And are they experts in that matter, right? Do they know what they're doing? Are they really involved? And do they, when I talk about this, I'm like, I'm with Keller Williams and I love the brand. I'm actually going to family reunion this coming week. And I said, I don't just drink the Kool-Aid, dude. I swim in it. I shoot it up. Like, I love this. Anything that real estate is the same thing for us, right?
Yeah.
So when we tell you and give you advice, it's not for us to benefit. It's for us to give you the best advice possible so you can make that educated decision when the time comes and not just say, hey, I made a commission. The last thing we want to focus on, and the last thing we focus on, is our paycheck. Because if we do what we're supposed to do, we're going to get paid, right? So at the end of the day, our job is to make sure we deliver on our promise. We go above and beyond, which Angel always, talks about that, and our team members too. I mean, Angel's here, that's why I talk about him. But in general, this is who we are. This is what we do, and we're proud of it. And we do it with our hearts. And again, yes, it is a business, but just know that we always have the best intentions to help you. We just did something yesterday with one of our clients. He decided to go a different route, and he thought I was going to fight him. I said, no, dude, we're friends. We want to make sure that if this is the best outcome for you, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do the right thing. And, we shook hands and everything's good.
We aim to go above and beyond the call of duty And
100%.
that's what we do here at the Grimaldo Group, helping families create wealth through homeownership. And I love being a part of this. And I want to continue doing this and impact families throughout. Any
And I think
last
that's what we want to achieve here. So, and you were going to ask me, sorry, about the last words. That's basically it. I mean, we're here to help.
Yep.
We're not here to just take your money and run. We're here as a resource, and you can talk to any one of our clients and ask them if they call us and we pick up the phone. We do. Why? Because they are our bosses.
Yeah.
We just ask them to treat us nicely. But our goal is just to deliver and do the best.
And we'll go through challenges.
100%.
Sometimes there's transactions that
are
very
interesting.
stressful, but that's why we're here for. We're in the trenches, and it's a battle out there, and we're willing to step up to the plate and do what needs to be done.
100%.
And I just noticed, guys, if whoever's listening, I was one that criticized wearing these style of jeans. These are new jeans, okay? I don't want
He's
people
cool now.
So I want to be with the times, but now I'm seeing it on the screen. Maybe
they look good.
maybe
They look good. No, I didn't. I was wearing my ripped jeans yesterday, so it's all good, Angel.
All right. Well, again, thank you for taking time to be with us, and have a
Appreciate you
wonderful day.
guys.
God bless.